We are live here, the SWE Fury podcast. Davey Boy Smith Jr. is supposed to be joining us later. He's going to be at the big event this Saturday night, March 20th in Canton, Texas. Of course, James Beard, SWE Fury matchmaker, legendary referee, is here to help us out with the podcast tonight. And Andrew Anderson making a surprise run-in on the podcast as we wait for Davey Boy Smith Jr. What brings you here tonight, Andrew?
Well, you know what? I kind of want to let you know that since James is here, I'm really happy that James is here because James is the senior referee, the official. He's in charge of all the referees. And I happen to have a little bit of a discrepancy as my dog Jesse gets in the picture over here. I have a little bit of a discrepancy, a little bit of a beef, so to speak, with your ref, Carl. My match with the Boogeyman, I was ripped off. Action Jackson was submitting, did not deserve that win. I don't know what the hell is going on with Nigel Rabbit and the Boogeyman. I don't care, but it cost me a match, and it was your job as senior official to make sure that that idiot did the right thing and called it down the middle. But
it's not my job to contain your manager or the Boogeyman.
Manager was scared out of his wits by that lunatic, that madman. Now, come on, James. This way. You know that the Boogeyman is not all there. You realize, Marty, right? The Boogeyman is not all there. All right? Anyone who runs around with face paint, a big spear, and eats worms, come on, man. Let's pull a
I've heard people say the same thing about you, Andrew.
No. Listen, Texans eat worms, okay? Texans eat worms because they use the manure to make the cows go bigger. You know? So listen,
is that what it is?
That's what it is. Yep. Okay. You and your septic tanks, you guys can't even afford plumbing out there. All right. So you had a little snowstorm, and what happened? All your pipes froze up. God damn it. Come on. What's the matter? You can't be prepared for winter? I thought you had generators from hurricanes and tornadoes, but a little bit of snow messes you guys up. And then you bring the Boogeyman in the picture. Who brought the Boogeyman to Texas? Come on.
You know, you are talking about cows in Texas. Hannibal knows about cows in Texas. He had a run-in with one today.
I saw him wrestle a cow the other day, and I think he had a couple out of it.
Yeah, I did. I had a little wrestling match with a bull as my workout yesterday when I was in Canton, Texas, which we should talk about because I was at the arena, and then I was at a farm nearby. But there's some news today about the event in Canton. It's going to be live on YouTube, on the SWE Fury YouTube channel for members. You can now join the SWE Fury YouTube channel for $4.99 a month, and you'll get access to every event live.
Wow!
So $4.99 a month, pretty good deal for that.
Is that going to include any back previous episodes and or is
all the previous episodes are already on SWE Fury free. So from what I understand, the powers that be at SWE feel that rather than charging $9.99 for individual pay-per-views, you can cancel in a month, or you can pay $4.99 and pay continuously and watch it free every month, or watch it included in that price.
That's not a bad deal. No, it's a hell of a deal. You know,
Andrew, are you going to be in this battle royal here for the Texas heavyweight title this weekend?
I don't know. I wasn't asked.
You most certainly are.
Excellent. Then I love it. I need to be in that battle. I need to get that belt around my waist. I need to walk out as a heavyweight champion. The Texas heavyweight champion. So
let me tell you something. So ever since we've announced this new title, this Lone Star, SWE Lone Star title, and the fact that we're going to be actually crowning that champion very soon, I can't hardly walk through the house without picking up the phone. People calling, wanting to be a part of that, and it's a madhouse. You know, when they started hearing about this, it's been a big deal. And what we've decided to do is we're going to have a battle royal, and the last two guys standing will be the guys that will actually compete for that title. So we'll see what happens.
Are they going to compete for that title that night, or are they going to do it in April?
It will be on this taping. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. That's great. I
Well,
look forward to being one of the last guys in that ring.
yeah, I guess it'll
Good.
come down to the last two. Is Davey Boy Smith Jr. going to be in that battle royal, James?
I think so. I'm not sure, but I think so. I'll have to double check the lineup, but yeah.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the banner. There's a lot of stars on this show. Teal Piper and her fiance from House of Heathens. He's a pretty big guy too. He's trained Ronda Rousey too in wrestling, so he could be a potential contender as well. I don't know about Mantell and Max. Are they going to be in there?
We debated about that a little bit, but we think it's probably going to be a bad idea to put them in the same ring together in a situation like this for right now. I think we're probably going to have to keep them apart, except when they're not.
Those two are going to have one of the most brutal matches around right now, with the Texas Bull Rope match, and the animosity between the two of them. I would hate to be that cowbell in the middle.
So something's going to get dented, somebody's head or the cowbell or something for sure.
Going to be busted open there in that match. I can tell you what. I've wrestled against Moonshine, and Moonshine is one tough SOB, and Max is a very good friend of mine, and between the two of them, I can't even predict Victor, because the animosity is just so deep rooted. And that's Dave Boy Jr. Harry Smith. What's up, Harry?
Hey,
how you doing, guys?
Doing great, Harry. How you doing, man?
Good, awesome.
And for those that don't know, Harry is a 2-time WWE Tag Team Champion, a 3-time New Japan Pro Wrestling Tag Team Champion with Lance Cade. And now, starting at the last event, he's been part of SWE Fury, and he's going to be there March 20th in Canton, Texas. So, James, you guys just keep recruiting the best of the best. One of, in my opinion, the best technical wrestler in the world today by far is Harry.
I tell you what, I've known Harry quite a while now, and I've always had a great appreciation for his talents and his skills. I mean, he was a tag team specialist for a while with Lance Hoyt, actually, not Cade. And they also held the NWA tag team titles for twice, Harry? Is that right? Or 3 times?
2 times, yeah.
Okay, yeah. And I've had the pleasure of being in the ring with Harry several times, and his father too, for that matter. And he's one of the best, absolutely.
I remember your dad. From WCW. That's how long I go back a little bit of a ways, man.
Oh wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, and good times, man. I was really good friends with your Uncle Smitty. So
he was great too.
He was a great dude. I mean, Smitty and I had a lot of laughs over the years at the Hall of Fame ceremonies, at the Cauliflower Alley with Bob Johnson, your old friend over there, Bob Johnson.
Oh, I remember. Yes, of course, Bob, the legend.
Bob, what a character! He's a character in and of itself.
Yeah, I guess Bob and Bruce are still doing their podcast. I don't know. Are they?
I don't think that they have for quite some time. I think Bruce is just, I think he's just been busy. Yeah.
Good deal with it. Yeah.
On the time, I think Bob caught COVID right in the middle of the whole the pandemic, and I think that sort of put the podcast on hold for a while there.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
So he had some underlying health issues, so it was a little more serious for him.
Yeah.
But he's a good guy, man. Your whole family, a bunch of great guys. I loved your Uncle Jim. Jim Neidhart was one of the best, and I had a lot of matches with him over the years. And I hope before I retire, I hope to have a match with you, my friend.
Well, we shall see, and let the best man win.
That's it, brother. Well, listen, guys, it was great talking to you. James Beard, keep your officials official. I was ripped off by the boogeyman. I'm not eating no worms. Nigel Rabbit said he'd eat the worms.
Quit whining. Quit whining and go back to your New Jersey hole up there somewhere.
You know what he has a habit of saying, Harry? He says every time I talk, he goes, "You talk funny." Well, you talk funny. You know, you talk funny. You Texans talk funny. So listen,
Yeah.
I heard, by the way, I heard that Hannibal was cleaning off cow poop off his shoes for a long time after wrestling that bull in Canton for a while. So, you know, watch out when Hannibal walks around to do interviews. You might smell a little bit of cow manure around, right, Hannibal?
You know, don't follow him where he's walking, I guess.
Right, Hannibal, you put no shoes off, my friend.
No, I was making the bull eat its own manure, but I'm sure Harry has. Would you ever wrestle a bear, Harry? I could see you have wanted to be in there with a bear. I know your grandfather wrestled a tiger once.
Yeah, you know, I don't know. A tiger might be maybe slightly easier to wrestle just because they're lower on the ground. You can try to front headlock them, and I think that was Stu's intent. But a bear, just because when they stand up, their height. I mean, and they just seem like, if you've ever watched them wrestle on YouTube, they just seem to keep rolling, even if you take them down. And then they have that immense power where they can just grab a hold of you and sort of bear hug you and slam you down to the ground. So, I mean, maybe I guess go with the tiger over the bear.
that blows my mind to even think about.
How's your MMA training coming along? I know you've been training with Josh Barnett, even Jake Hager before one of his last fights. I don't know if he's going to get in there and mix it up again, but there's been rumors about you getting into Bellator for years now. Yeah,
you know, I've been training at the American Top Team gym here in Tampa, and I just the issue was I've always been sidelined or sidetracked with something, and I had a lot of bad luck and misfortune with getting ready for things. Like I remember years ago, I had been contacted by Pancrase, and I was getting ready for something there, and I kept having reoccurring tonsil issues, and I ended up having to get my tonsils removed, and then I kind of got back into training, and then I was training with Jake for a while, and I ended up breaking my ankle in sparring. And I was getting ready for a Bellator fight, sort of, and then, you know, over the summer I was training hard, and I ended up getting vertigo in my ear, and ended up getting viral pharyngitis the last time. So there's just been a lot of bad luck that you know, I've been training, but not like I'm preparing for a fight. I'm just training more for maintenance right now, and just trying to feel what's the best option for myself career-wise. And if I am going to try to have an MMA fight, it would be like now or never. And with WWE coming up with my dad's Hall of Fame induction, that might be the best option. So I'm just seeing what's the best road to take, you know? So, yeah.
Well, you have to take care of yourself for sure. You know, what's best for you, and that may be the best path for you in the end. After all,
and it's always been, the end of the day, pro wrestling's been, you know, my bread and butter, and wrestling in Japan was always my first love. So, you know, you can't push that. I mean, it's hard to decide. You know what I mean?
You did some training with the late Billy Robinson also, didn't you?
Yes, I certainly did. I used to go and see Billy in Little Rock, Arkansas, in between. It was like WWE trips. If I was somewhere near like Tennessee, I would go and see him and train with him. So I got to spend a lot of time with Billy. We got to be pretty close, and I learned a lot of techniques from him. Great technician, real stickler on technique, actually.
Yeah.
He had a great mind for the professional wrestling industry as well, and the mixed martial arts field. So I'm very grateful I got a chance to train with him. Him and my grandfather Stu were very close, and he spent some time in Calgary pro wrestling as well.
Yeah, he was one of those guys that if he respected you, he would kind of work with you a little bit, but if he didn't, you were probably in trouble.
Yeah, I think so. I think he was. Yeah, I would say that's pretty fair. But I think that Billy liked to treat everybody sort of respect, but he had a kind of like a short fuse. And if he didn't like you or something set him off, he could, I could tell he could kind of get into a bad mood and be in that mode where he wants to go out and stretch somebody or hurt somebody. But he was capable of doing that.
Yeah, yeah. He's one of those guys from that era and that age and that generation that was just, man, they were tough as nails.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, some of the training he told me about that he did in Wigan growing up, you know, and just before he even learned any techniques, the sort of abuse that they would, you know, he had to undergo from, you know, Billy Joyce and Billy Riley and Carl Gotch,
Yeah,
Jack Dempsey, a lot of those guys, you know.
yeah, some tough names right there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And
Well, you had the did you start with obviously you had to start at Stu's place, I guess, but who actually started training you? Which one were the guys were I guess the most influence on you?
So it would have been Ross and Bruce first.
Okay.
Yeah. And then it was Tokyo Joe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I heard that. Yeah.
He was the one that sent me to New Japan the first time when I was 19.
Okay.
And, you know, after that, I mean, I got to learn from some of the other veterans that would come around. Some of the other guys like that I'd sort of trained, but they had became sort of more advanced because they were on the road wrestling full time. Duke Durango, Greg Pollock, some of them. And then
heard so many stories. Many stories about that place.
Later, you know, I spent some time in FCW with Dr. Tom and Steve Kern. So, you know, I got to learn a lot of good psychology from both of those guys. They're tremendous teachers and have a tremendous level of patience and super assets for the wrestling business as far as teachers and everything that they've, you know, attributed to the business for sure.
You're a little bit of a different animal than some. I mean, you're a big guy. You're what, 6'5"? Somewhere in that neighborhood. Yeah. And a lot of guys your size aren't as technical as you are, but that seems to be something that you're really honed in on.
Thank you very much for that encomium. Yeah, you know, it's just been years of learning from guys like Billy Robinson and Tokyo Joe. I've learned quite a bit from, you know, Minoru Suzuki and Fujiwara. You know, and just studying and watching tapes and just it's a lot of practice too. You know, you gotta get your reps in. You gotta kind of do things day in, day out, learn your techniques so well that it's impossible for you to screw them up, basically.
I worked with Fujiwara a little bit in Japan years ago, and that was really kind of the start of the MMA thing back in those days. He had that I guess I don't know what they call it, the shoot wrestling kind of thing, and there was some rough stuff, man, going on in the ring with those guys.
Yeah, you were there with the SWS, huh?
Yes, yeah.
Fujiwara is a great guy. He's funny. He's got a dry sense of humor on him too. But,
yeah.
His Achilles lock and his front face lock and headlock when he put it on, like you, when you get it hurt.
There's a fan that wants to know what's your go-to submission, Harry. I'm really not sure because I've only seen you in those grappling matches when you won that Billy Robinson tournament a couple years ago that were uploaded.
Yeah, I haven't that was one of the only ones that got uploaded. Some of the other ones like in Naga and stuff like that I won, and Josh had some other ones years ago. Double wrist lock, the Kimura is what they call it, but in catch wrestling we do it with a different variation with grabbing lower on the wrist, like on the hand. So I would go double wrist lock, top wrist lock, and that crossface into a front face lock and the grommet, the grommet front face lock, of course. I got a pretty good Achilles lock as well, but usually just when I go on autopilot, I wind up in those positions. So that's just years of just sensitivity and stuff like that. So I would go with those. I mean, I can get rear naked chokes and stuff like that, but just put pressure on your opponent and look for put pressure, but look for the submission, but wait for the submission to come to you. Is what I would say.
Speaking of the Gravit, I don't think James has heard your Dynamite Kid impression. Can we get that, because you do a great one of him talking about that hold.
Yeah. Well, James, did you ever meet Dynamite?
Met him, never worked with him. I worked with your dad, but never worked with Dynamite. Yeah.
So when I went and visited him years ago, when he was still around, God bless his soul, he was I'm sure you could agree, he was kind of a man of few words.
Yeah.
And he was either black or white. So I would go, hey, Dynamite, or hey, Tommy, what did you think about the Cobra as a wrestler? And he goes, he's okay. Maybe ever. I said, what about Tsunami? He's good. I'd say, well, what about well, he was the best, right? He was the best. So it's like, all right. I asked him about going, because he went there with New Japan, or I think like 81 or 82. And I guess the guys had a lousy trip there. Inoki booked some kind of an armpit of a tour over there, and he said, it's a shithole. It's a shithole.
I've been on those.
Yeah, maybe. Well, maybe not the place I would like to visit, but I have nothing against the Pakistani people. Are very nice people. I just wouldn't want to go to the country, because I went to India and wound up getting very sick over there. So
yeah.
I reserve taking a dive into those countries.
To relate to that myself. Yeah.
Did you meet Lacey Von Erich in Carthage? One of the owners of SWE Fury wants me to plug that she's going to be doing a podcast, is going to air on the SWE Fury YouTube channel, her own YouTube channel, as well as the Hannibal TV coming soon. But being a multi-generation wrestler yourself,
Yes.
I believe she's also third generation, just like you. I'm sure you could relate to her in some ways.
Yeah, I got to know Lacey a little bit in FCW when they first opened up there, or here in Tampa, I should say. And then I don't know what happened, but she kind of moved on, and then she went to TNA. But I know Lacey a little bit, and I have a tremendous respect for her family. And it was nice to see her again at the last show in Carthage. So that's good on her that she's doing some stuff with the business and keeping the family legacy alive. I know Russ and Rachel Von Erich, we did some work in MLW together.
Yeah.
And kids are really coming along. So.
Yeah. Speaking of the Von Erichs, a lot of people don't know this, but Kevin and I think maybe David and Kerry, at least two of the guys, I can't remember, maybe all three of them, actually went up to your grandfather's place and trained a little bit with Sakurada and Hito.
Yeah, I believe that's yeah. I know that the father Fritz actually got trained by Stu, as far as I know.
Yeah, true.
Originally, so yeah, there is a lot of history there for sure.
There's a fan on here that wants to know your Mount Rushmore of wrestling, being such a wrestling historian and seeing so many matches over the years. I think you and Jim Cornette might have the two biggest tape collections in wrestling. Who would be on your Mount Rushmore?
Well, start off with Giant Gonzalez, Nails. No.
Oh, nobody can say you don't have a sense of humor anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
Would
hard to do, though,
would
isn't
Virgil
it?
be on there? Someone's bringing up Virgil.
Oh, that latest pick he showed. Um, yeah, you know what? It's a difficult question because I mean, there's so many great wrestlers, like as far as over in the Middle East, over in Japan, and over in the U.S. So I'd have to pick two different Mount Rushmores between Japan and the U.S. But if it was my Mount Rushmore altogether, um, I'd probably go somewhere along the lines of, Bret Hart. My dad and Dynamite Kid, just, obviously I've got some maybe bias to there, but that's just going by my favorite performers. Hulk Hogan for everything that he's done in the wrestling industry. And as far as Japanese guys, I think that Tiger Mask was one of the most influential Japanese and innovative, really changed the style of wrestling over in Japan with the Dynamite Kid.
Yeah, the original Tiger Mask you're talking about.
So Siama, Tiger Mask, I actually got to train in his dojo quite a few times.
Yeah.
He's taught me how to kick and showed me a lot of cool stuff. He's a really nice guy, but I heard that he's got a really short temper with his students sometimes. If you check out some YouTube videos with him with some of his young boys, he lays a heavy hand, we shall say.
A little rough.
Yeah. I mean, I think the videos are on YouTube, so you can check them out. But I mean, what a hell of an.
But that's part of the way it is though over there in training. I worked in the training centers over there, and it's tough. It's not the same as it is here. The guys over there, it's like going to college. They're in there 6 days a week. They may get Sunday off, but that's it. And it's a full-time job.
Absolutely. I mean, Tokyo Joe, he didn't hit me with the kendo stick or anything, but he, if he put on holds and stuff like that on you, he would apply them pretty hard. And he certainly verbally could be quite abrasive, we'll say. And he didn't hold back any punches, but at the same time, he always wanted you to bring the best out of you. So, and that was how he got brought up. And I'm sure his training, when he got brought up to the guys, he probably did get hit with a stick and stuff. But I mean, what a tough SOB he was, man, for him to have survived that. So he survived a car crash with his leg, and he got his leg amputated. And then he stayed in Calgary because he was too ashamed to go back home to Japan to see his family. So Inoki and him were kept tight over the years, and then they made him a sort of like a scout for New Japan. So he stayed in Calgary, and then he went to Texas. He was actually one of the first guys to send Undertaker to New Japan as Punisher Morgan and Psycho Sid. I think he first sent maybe Steve Williams to New Japan too, and then a bunch of other guys from England. He would travel around and scout guys and see who was a good worker or who could draw money over in Japan. He had a pretty sharp eye, Joe.
That used to be pretty much the way the system worked. You had somebody in different areas that would suggest people for Japan, and I did that myself for a while. It's a very difficult responsibility too, because in those days you had to be something special to work over there.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. And I mean, in those days too, the style, I mean, there wasn't, I think more early 80s was pretty bad, but they would really test you in there.
Yeah, absolutely.
You fight that, get chewed up, because that's what would happen,
There's a fan on here named Josh Bulldog, obviously a fan of your dad's. He wants to know your favorite British Bulldog moment. Would it have been the Canadian Stampede? I know you were also there for the famous 1992 SummerSlam match between your dad and Brett.
Yeah, you know what? I got to go with both of those. They were tremendous moments in my childhood, and being there live was just something. It was just amazing. You know, I'd never heard crowds that loud in my life. Being there, you know, live, especially you know, SummerSlam '92. I mean, you had 80,000 plus fans going nuts for at the very end. There, it was just incredible. So I would definitely put it at those two for sure.
Do you think if WWE were to say build an NXT UK brand around a guy like you, that there could be a legitimate UK territory? Because they got other good wrestlers there, like this Walter character.
Yeah.
But it seems like they haven't given it a good enough push yet to really get something good going.
Yeah, with all due respect to a lot of the guys there, there's just not a lot of name power. And due to the COVID pandemic, there's, you know, no live audience. So that's going to hurt things also. But I just think that if they had more name power over there with you know, I mean, if they had, I mean, Finn Balor, he's from Europe. If they had him and a few other guys at Walter, he's got some name power. He's a big guy. That's just the problem. It's just COVID. You know, they're not allowed to draw any live audiences, and especially over there in the UK, everything's so isolated with COVID and, you know, travel restrictions. It's not like you can send guys back and forth regularly. So it's tough, man. Maybe hopefully they can have a waiting game with it and things will look up for them. But they do have great talent. It's just not a lot of actual name power, you know.
Stampede Wrestling manager Abu Weasel is on here watching, and he wants to know about Gary Albright.
Why doesn't he tell me? He knew Gary better than me.
I guess you would have just been a little kid when he passed away, but yeah. I don't know what he wants you to say about him.
I was a big fan of Gary's from his UWFI days, and Stu really respected him and spoke highly of his amateur wrestling credentials, and Billy Robinson did too. As you know, Billy said that he had an extremely loose back, especially he said he may have had one of the loosest hips and back for a heavyweight his size. So when he would suplex you or throw you, you had no choice. It was victory over the bridge, as they shall say. And I never got to meet him, but I was a big fan of his work. And I know that he worked with my dad and Dynamite Kid quite a bit, and he knew Billy Robinson. So
I understand that you're going to be inducting your father into the WWE Hall of Fame this year. It was supposed to be last year, long overdue. What does it mean to you that they're finally putting your dad in the Hall of Fame and you're going to be the one putting him in there?
You know what? It's long overdue, and I'm really happy and glad that it's finally happening. I appreciate that they've given me the opportunity to induct him, and I think that it's only fitting that you know, I certainly be the one. You know, it's going to be a great moment for myself, my family, and the fans also. And right now I'm doing a lot of thinking and trying to prepare a speech, and I'm not sure exactly what the time frame is for it. But I want to make it a good special speech and have a lot of content and good stories for the fans, and thank the fans in the WWE universe for all this. So I'm definitely looking forward.
Just be careful for those attackers.
Yeah,
because you had to deal with that one a few years ago. Whatever happened to him? Was he ever formally charged over that?
I have no idea. I think that he may have gotten a fake identity and moved over to Mexico or something. But
yeah, you did a number on that guy. You couldn't even recognize him after.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I had heard that he was supposed to. There was supposed to be some court dates that he had missed, and they were looking for him. But I have no idea. I mean, he's just wherever he is. I mean, he seemed like a real nutcase, wing nut. But
Yeah, not a smart move, and that's for sure.
no.
James, do you know who Harry is wrestling this Saturday night in Canton? I think you mentioned earlier he's going to be involved in the Battle Royal for the Texas heavyweight title, but I understand he's probably going to be having a match as well.
Yeah. I couldn't hear everything you said. It kind of was breaking up there a little bit.
Yeah, mine too.
Okay, can you hear it now?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Who do you have any idea, James, who Harry is wrestling this Saturday at the Canton Civic Center in SWE Fury? You mentioned earlier he was going to be in the Texas title Battle Royal. And also, Harry, one of the powers that be wanted me to ask you, what are your thoughts on SWE and the product?
I think that SWE is a tremendous product. A lot of great talent, and it's really awesome to be wrestling in front of a live audience again. And it's nice that Texas has raised the rules and raised the bar, freeing up a lot of the rules because of COVID. Because I hadn't wrestled in front of a live audience with a substantial amount of fans for quite some time. So there's a lot of great talent. There's a lot of good production, and the fans seem like they're really enjoying the product, which is the most important, because that's, the foundation of how the business is being dictated. And I was glad to see that I got such a nice ovation from the SWE audience when I was there just a few weeks back. And they have a good product. I watched some of it back online, so I'm happy to be a part of it. A lot of people that I've worked with in the past that are on it too, and it's a very well-run company.
Well, my influences, I tell people this all the time, my influences, of course, is the old style Texas wrestling and Japan wrestling. And that's kind of a little bit of what our philosophy is, trying to get some of that in there, and guys like yourself fit right in with that. That's to me that's the most exciting brand of wrestling there is, and I'm hoping that we can create, or at least build from this fan base, and that people appreciate something that's a little bit different from what they see on TV right now.
Absolutely, a lot of good quality wrestling down here in SWE in Texas for sure. A lot of the old school, like the old Von Erichs promotion and everything. It's a good feel.
James, is Harry going to be wrestling this giant that Melina's bringing into the company? Because we saw the last event, Melina seemed to stick her nose in Harry's business a little bit.
Well, we don't know who that giant is yet. That very well may happen. Who knows? Evidently, I mean, if you go by the picture there, he must be about 8 feet tall or something. But we'll have to see. We'll have to see what he's got on his mind and what she has on her mind when she gets there. But Harry will definitely have a contest that'll be worthy of his skills. Right now, we have him against a guy that actually had a pretty tough match with Blood Hunter a few weeks ago, Michael Schaefer, and he's about a 350, 400 pound guy that moves very well, and I think that'll be a good matchup for us.
Absolutely, and I'm looking forward to that. But I'm curious as to who this mammoth monster of a man that Molina's
it's
bringing.
Could it be Giant Gonzalez's son or Giant Silva? Giant Silva's still alive.
That'll be a great letdown if that's what it is.
Or maybe Big Ron Reese is making a comeback.
Oh, God. You actually met Nails, didn't you? Or you got an autograph from Nails. Where's he been? I know that's a random question, but
So my friend Roy, he runs a 1980s like YouTube channel from All Japan, and he's a very good friend of mine. But we would always talk about like what happened to some of these guys, and then he's a guy that'll go out and find a lot of these people, and he because I told him I remember Nails when I was a kid at Wembley Stadium, and I had a conversation with him at the hotel, and I think I was playing with a couple of my Ninja Turtles action figures, and he was just very calm, and he asked me who my favorite was, and I said Raphael, and I think he said he had a son that liked the Ninja Turtles that was kind of my age, and I was intimidated by him because when you saw him on TV, what he was like, and so I told him about the story, and then Roy called Nails, and then he was trying to, I think, entice him into maybe showing up at a WrestleCon or doing an autograph session. He had absolutely no interest in it, but he said he liked my dad because he mentioned about me. And then he said, well, could I buy an autograph for his son? And he goes, yeah, sure. And then he did it. And he just says "To Harry Nails" in capitals. And I got a Nails t-shirt. So yeah.
That's amazing. There's a few fans wondering, I know you have absolutely no say in this, but if you were to return to WWE now that you fully own the British Bulldog name, do you think you'd be more likely in there as Davey Boy Smith Jr. or the David Hart Smith name again?
I would prefer the British Bulldog name or to go back under my real name of Harry Smith. And I think that I've had a lot of different names and aliases in the past that people have chosen for me. And I think the Davey Boy Smith Jr. one has worked really well. But going back, if I am going back there, a fresh name.
I got lost again.
Yeah, something happened there. Sorry.
The last thing I heard was you said fresh name.
Yeah, I think that if I were going back, were to make a return, it would be a new name, fresh name of British Bulldog, which is, a tribute to my father, or my real name, Harry Smith. I know Jim Ross had mentioned
or both
Harry Smith before, which I agreed on.
Very good. And there's a few fans on here that are asking about, you use two finishers, the running power slam and also the pile driver.
Yes.
A lot. Which of the two finishers do you prefer, and what's the difference in effectiveness?
Well, so in different, in like a blood sport game, say for instance, I prefer to use the crippler crossface because it's more of a shoot style. And, going over to, it's all kind of where I'm at, what position I'm in. If I'm a fan favorite, I tend to like to use the running power slam because it's something that the fans can all relate to. And it's a good feel-good moment because they remember my father doing it. Whereas if I'm working as a heel or a villain, the good old fashioned pile driver is just, you plant the guy down right on their head and that's it. 1, 2, 3. Or the jumping Liger bomb has been always a favorite of mine as well. So,
man, we're having some technical issues, but we're almost winding it down here. Harry, where can people follow you if they want to follow you online and see everywhere you're going and what your progress is?
Absolutely. You can follow me at DB Smith Jr. on my Instagram page or Twitter. Same thing, DB Smith Jr. I do have a Facebook account, but I'm not on there as much, but I keep that more to my friends and family. And there's also an official British Bulldog Instagram page that my sister is now running. And you can follow any updates that we have about any upcoming Hall of Fame news or anything like that, you can check those out as well.
Now, you mentioned Bloodsport not too long ago. You had a match that was very well received with John Moxley. Could you talk at all about that match and what went into it? Because it was one of the most brutal matches of 2021. Not that there's been that many to choose from, but it was up there.
Absolutely. It was hard hitting, and it was fun. Sometimes you get hit hard and you hit back harder, and that's can be a fun thing. I have always respected John Moxley's attitude towards wrestling, and he was actually at my first Bloodsport match against Killer Cross. He showed up there with William Regal, and he was somewhere up in the rafters, the second floor, watching it. And I know that he really enjoyed the match, and he wanted to test himself and be a part of something like Bloodsport. So hats off to him. I like John. He's a different kind of character, very eccentric, but he's got a rough side to him, which I like, and I think that he beats to his own tune, so to speak. But he's a one of a kind of character, and I enjoy getting in there and exchanging a few potatoes and whatever else with him. So it was fun.
Didn't you legitimately knock somebody out?
You enjoyed the pain, I guess.
Sorry, didn't you actually knock somebody out in the Bloodsport before that?
Yeah, I did. Josh Alexander, and it was, it happens, I rocked him with a forearm, and I could see that he was on queer street, as my Uncle Bruce liked to say. And I gave him the jumping power bomb, and I made sure he was okay afterwards. But it happens, and it just. But yeah, that's true. I knocked him out.
That's why that neck training is so important. You got to get that neck.
We lost him again.
Yes.
I don't know where there are technical difficulties tonight for some reason. There we go.
Can you hear us now?
There we go. Yeah.
There's a fan, Harry, that wants to know how your family's doing.
Oh, everybody's doing okay. It's just been a rough time with COVID, but I've spoken to Brett a little bit here and there. He's been up in Canada. He hasn't traveled much due to the pandemic, but I've kept in touch with them. I've been in Florida here. I still see TJ and Natty down here when but everybody's doing all right. Everybody's in good health and moving along with this pandemic. So yeah, they're all doing good. Thanks for asking.
We had Steve Kern on my podcast this weekend, and he put over you as one of the guys he really liked working with in FCW. And there's a fan here, Chris Norman, that must have seen that. He wants to know your memories of training with Steve Kern.
Absolutely. Steve Kern was great. I really respected and appreciated Steve's passion for the wrestling business. Steve had a lot of great ideas. He had a lot of good psychology. I mean, he was one of those guys. I don't think he took any days off when he was working as basically the owner of FCW down here. So Steve is a great guy. He ran a great company with FCW, and sometimes when I look back at things, I kind of course I like being on the road and stuff like that, but you want to get out of the developmental. But when you look back at things, you look back and you say, man, I had so many great memories when I was down at FCW, and we had so many great moments with myself and TJ and Low Key and Drew McIntyre and Heath Slater. We had quite a crew down here, so it was a lot of fun and a real blast. So got all the respect in the world for Mr. Kern.
Very good.
Something when you think about working with all those guys, and then it all kind of make a circle and come back around together. And
Yeah,
it looks like you might be doing some of that yourself. Yeah, it's kind of a neat thing.
absolutely. It's kind of fun. I mean, I drive down the Gandy Boulevard here in Tampa a lot, and then I drive by. But it's just funny to see the FCW's, the old school. There's it's like a playground place for kids. And I just drive by and I go, man, I can't believe when I used to drive up here that used to be. I mean, it's a huge place in there, but crazy how it changed into that. I was there the very first day of FCW. We were at a batting cage on Hillsborough, because that was the first place that they had found. And then I think it was John Laurinaitis came by, and he didn't like that we were trying to protect the business. We were sell things, but Johnny just didn't like it at all. So he said, "We're getting out of here. Let's go."
Kayfabe.
Yeah.
How did your dad get the name the British Bulldog? Good question from a fan here. I don't even know that.
I think it was Vince that came up with the British Bulldogs idea originally when he was first signing them from Stampede in Japan, because he said that they both look like, bulldogs, and the British name and everything. So after they split up, Davey kept the name, and he did the wise thing and trademarked it. So there was
originally just a tag team name.
But
yeah.
When Davey and Dynamite were together as a tag team, Davey kept telling Dynamite that they should trademark the British Bulldogs name, and Dynamite never wanted to do it. And he just said, like, "Oh fuck, anybody steals our name, we'll beat him up. We'll show him." But when they split up, Davey trademarked it, and he was on TV, and that was it was what he needed to do.
Yeah, you mentioned before in another interview with me, you were friends with Johnny Ace, and it just came out last week that he's back as head of WWE Talent Relations. So I guess that's another good thing.
Absolutely. Yeah, I always liked Johnny. Johnny was always honest with me. I'm glad to see he's back hired in his position. And, we kept in touch a little bit over the past while, because I think Johnny always respected that I had a huge passion for Japanese wrestling. And I think that when he released me, he wanted to see me go back to Japan and kind of reinvent myself. And I was kind of burned out at the time being, in WWE, and there was just not a lot of, there was no storyline. There was no, nothing to really bite your teeth into, when I was there at the time. So, but no, Johnny's, he's a smart guy, man. He's, but he never did me any wrong. So I got a lot of respect for him.
That happened to a lot of guys. Your old partner Lance Hoyt, same thing. He was there for a while and then let go and went on to do other things. How did you feel about that at the time? Is that something that you were really disappointed in, or just look at it as an opportunity to do something different?
Oh, no. I was I was more than well on my way out. I on the road in 4 months, and there was not a lot of nothing to really look forward to at the time. I might get a Superstars match. Actually, my last Superstars match with Zack Ryder was really good. I don't know if you watched that on the network or YouTube. And I really we put together it was a good match. Like, it was really good, and the fans were getting into me, and I thought, man, I really showed them that, we need to start doing something. And then that was the last match, and they just sent me home. It just goes to show you that sometimes, you can work hard but it's just not the right time. And they just didn't want to, for whatever reason, wanted to do anything at the time. So
But in some cases, it turns out to be the best thing that could have happened to you, really. I mean, you got that experience, you knew what it was like, but then you got a chance to go to Japan and work and train in a different way and probably have a completely different style now.
Yeah, I mean, I got was definitely more inspired when I left, and there was a lot look forward to, and it was a good thing I went, and it was a good thing I left at the time, So
Favorite match in WWE and favorite match outside of WWE? The last fan question I'll ask you for tonight.
I'm sorry, my favorite match in WWE?
Yeah, favorite that you had with them and outside of WWE. I know my favorite match of you outside WWE was you and Harry, or you and TJ, sorry, on that show in Cochrane.
Yeah, absolutely. That match was awesome. You can, I believe, is that on your channel? Devin?
Yeah, it's still on there. If you look up Harry Smith versus TJ Wilson, it's a great match. You power bomb him off the top rope.
Super Liger bomb off the top rope was the finish. That was my final match before going to WWE. So you know what? I'm going to go with that. Probably is my favorite match outside. But other than that, the match that I had with Shinsuke Nakamura, the IC title match that we had at Ryogoku, they took it off YouTube. I mean, understandably, but that's on New Japan World. But in WWE, I have to say, and nobody's probably seen it, it was a house show match. And this was the time when they first brought me up, and I hadn't debuted yet. And I was working John Morrison first on the card. And John, he had the Intercontinental title at the time. And I was certainly high up in the agent's eyes at that point. And I think I was really impressing a lot of people. And they just, I don't know if it was Ricky or Arn, I think it was Ricky or Arn decided that they were going to put me over. He was the IC champion, clean. And it was a sold out crowd. And it was the first match. They kind of knew me, but we told the story that I got a little bit of shine on him, and then he got his heat on me, and I did some fancy little, European moves and arm reversals that the crowd hadn't maybe not been seen before. And then John stopped me, and he was actually, Melina was his manager at the time too. I think she did something. And he went for his finish, and I switched it, running power slammed him, and the people just could not believe it that I won. And they absolutely erupted. I've never heard a pop that loud in my life for myself. And we did it the same thing the next night, and it was even bigger. My comeback that night, I remember and John, he was just so on, man. The bump, the just boom, 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 like a ping pong, and the crowd was just eating it up. But aside from that,
talented guy, yeah.
Yeah, those two, there were house shows, though. I mean, and I think WWE still has them on tape, but I think they turned off the audio. But my match with Fit Finley from ECW was really awesome. And again, John Morrison from Superstars in Calgary. It was, if you check that out, yeah, that one's on YouTube. But that match from Calgary on Superstars was good. But the one we had in when I beat him for the IC title, the house show matches were even better. So that'll lead for your imagination to think.
Some good things for the fans to look up. Do you mind just throwing us a couple more impressions before we close up here? Because I'm such a big fan of the voices that you do.
Sure. Hang on. Let me think.
He's having to perform for us.
Well, James, did you ever you must have worked a little bit with Arn Anderson, right?
I've been around Arn. I never actually worked with him, believe it or not.
Well,
but I do know him. Yeah.
He's his deal with his hand because of his neck injury from over the years.
Yeah.
And he would always kind of be eyeing up at a lot of the talent and watching them, and you go, You know what? You're gonna be a fucking heel, be a heel. Simple. Be aggressive. You don't want to be doing all this hoo-ha bullshit. You want to get your heat in. Do something dirty that makes the fans just get that nasty, shitty feeling in the pit of their stomach. They go, fuck, man. That's how you make your money. Simple.
That sounds like him.
I could do Mike Rotunda, but not a lot of people know him. But he would, Mike liked to chew a lot of dip backstage, and he would, he'd come out and he would say something like, back in my day, nowadays everybody's just working a chin lock as a hold, working an abdominal stretch. Grab your hand on the rope. The ref's not looking. When he comes back, you pull it away and you pull on his hip. Do that a couple times. Third time, when the ref catches, you take a hip toss, and little things like that still get over. So, some food for thought, Try to be creative. Nobody's really working a leg now. They're just doing a lot of high spots. So, just my point of view.
That's great. That's great.
Mike's a great.
and so true too. The way you said it.
I remember when he was by me in the hallway, and I was doing an impression to Pat Patterson, God rest his soul. And just coincidentally, he was walking by the monitor, and Pat just looked at him, and he just covered his mouth and started laughing. Mike gave me this dirty look. He goes, "You're a funny man, Harry." He knew exactly.
Oh, wow. Great stuff. Great stuff.
Who has the best impression of Stu? So many people do Stu.
Yeah, Stu's kind of, I would have to give it to, he's not around anymore, but maybe Owen. Owen was really good with his impressions. I think I give it to Owen or Brett. There's a lot of people that they think they have good ones, but it's just, it's like everybody has a Brian Dixon impression, or if you ever with him and over in England. A lot of people like to imitate Vince and Johnny Ace too. They all seem to have their version of the voice. But yeah, I give it to Owen or Brett.
You also do a very good
funny
Bruce.
guy.
You do a great Bruce impression, but not many people would know Bruce on here. But yours is pretty exact.
Yeah. Well, he would. Yeah, it's too bad. Well, James, you know Bruce, right?
Oh yes, yes.
Yeah. I foresee Dynamite Kid performers of our time. I always got along pretty good with Dynamite, and some of them was always on pretty good terms, and we may have exchanged a few potatoes and whatnot in our matches, but everything was pretty safe and not a lot of bullshit or anything,
That's perfect. That's perfect.
Yeah, you could fool anyone with that.
Oh yeah, yeah. You could wheel the radio and you think it was him.
Yeah, I remember there was.
Except you didn't talk long enough.
Yeah, there was a couple. I think guys in the dungeon. I'm not going to say who, but they were prank calling. There was a bunch of prank calls going on back and forth between each other, and someone was stiffing someone in the basement, and then Bruce was just I remember he just kind of like shrugged his shoulders and said, "Yeah, I don't know. This sounds like a convoluted web of lies and bullshit.
straightened out before something fucking goofy happens. We're all here to get along and be at our best. And I don't want to hear about any of this bullshit going on. But you remember he gave this little speech.
That's so perfect.
Who wants to come on the mat for the first rendezvous, as they shall say? he would you guys come on the mat, do 10 minutes or whatever, do the 15 bumps, and then usually do a round of applause, and the next guys would clap, and then. But he switched it up a lot. But yeah,
that's funny stuff. Funny stuff. It's right on, man.
Well, thank you very much for joining us, Harry. And I'll put this poster up again. This pay-per-view this weekend, it is going to be on SWE Fury's YouTube channel. If you join the channel, it's going to be $4.99, and you can watch Davey Boy Smith Jr., the British Bulldog, in action. He's going to be in the Battle Royal. And as James announced, taking on Michael Schaefer, who is something like 6'6", 400 pounds. That's going to be a tough one to put in the power slam. But I'd like to. That'd be worth $4.99 alone to see power slam that big.
More than yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, thanks a lot, Devin. I look forward to seeing my fans in Canton, and any of the fans that are going to be watching this live, please tune in. There's a lot of great wrestlers like myself, and a lot of great talent on the show. So be looking forward to coming back to Texas for sure.
Great. Have a good night, Harry. Thank you very much for joining us, and I look forward to seeing you on the weekend. Thanks for all the impressions.
You're welcome.
See you soon, Harry.
And James, we can just mention again, it's going to be on pay-per-view on the SWE Fury YouTube channel, $4.99 to become a channel member. And they're going to put the pay-per-views on every single month. But you could also just pay it one time if you only want the one pay-per-view. But we tested out the streaming at this arena yesterday. I was in Canton. I'll put up the picture. I was actually at the arena with one of the owners of SWE Fury, and they have excellent Wi-Fi, so there should be no streaming issues. This lovely Texas title is going to be decided. Great card, tons of stars: Gangrel, Molina, Mark Henry, Teddy Long, Charlie Haas, Hernandez, Teal Piper, David. Yeah. We haven't even mentioned Hernandez, but James, I'll let you close it off with the final plug. And SWEfury.com is the last thing I'll say for anyone that wants to follow that. And coming soon, the Lacey podcast on Lacey VE TV, the Hannibal TV, and the SWE Fury channel. So big things coming.
Yeah, and it just keeps getting bigger and bigger every time, and it's exciting to see how many people are wanting to be a part of SWE Fury now, and you see the stars line up on this particular TV taping that it's as good as you're going to find anywhere, and I'm excited about that, and I'm excited about what this means for our future, and it's just been such a pleasure. This whole ride has been incredible, and we're just getting started, really.